Hi, Cindy.
It's Jerry, and welcome to our channel, Talk It Up with Cindy and Jerry.
Yep. So today we're talking about, this is our second episode. We're going to go into a little bit of our backstory of ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of went into it a little bit in the first one, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail of our steps to getting to where we live here. What you do for a living and...
well, right now we do live in a house, but I think, we'll slowly get to those points. But so I work in technology. I've worked in technology since I was 16, over 30 years. And, I'm at that point now. I'm, in cloud technology, M365, Microsoft, those that are in that field. But I've been working in technology. That's it. That's all I know. Most of it is certifications. I did go to college for a brief, almost 2 semesters. But it was just a lot on my plate with having a kid, living in the Bronx. But I was going to Manhattan Community College. It was a lot. But that's what I've done.
I've had jobs here and there. My main job is being a housewife, raising our children. But I have worked in a beeper store.
Yep.
When beepers first came out, when it was all Motorola, back in the late 80s,
early 90s. Yeah.
And then I've worked as a secretary for Section 8.
That's correct.
When we lived in New York.
Yeah.
I've been secretary. I've done field rep. I've worked in a gym. So I've done little jobs here and there. But my main job was raising our children and taking care of our home.
Yeah. So speaking of kids, we were I guess we were dating, but within like the 4th or 5th time we wanted to meet up, you moved.
Yes.
Unexpectedly. Well, for me it was unexpected because there was no point in the conversations that, hey, by the way, I'm going to be moving. It was like, hey, you want to meet up this weekend? Yes. Hey, I don't live in my mom's place no more. I'm like, okay. I'll give you the address, and I had to write it down and the train and stuff like that. So
I lived with my sister-in-law for a little bit.
Yeah, it was an additional 5 stops.
On the subway, yes.
Additional 5 stops. So now I have to go even farther. And, where I get out of the subway to my mother's place was like about 3 blocks.
Yes.
I think about the same for yours.
Yes.
Get out the subway, 3 blocks to your mother's apartment.
3 blocks.
This wasn't. It was like 5 stops.
It was a hike.
And then it was like cross this barrier of like through the Bronx.
main intersection. He had to cross a main intersection.
Let me tell you, I trekked for this girl.
Actually, that was the Grand Concourse. I just remember.
See, it was the Grand Concourse. Yeah,
you had to cross the Grand
Concourse.
So
I walked a good 5 or 6 blocks, then crossed the Grand Concourse, and then another 5 or 6 blocks just to see her. I mean, let me tell you, it was a hike. I was hiking it. But yeah, we kept on dating until you gave me the call one day.
So we had an unplanned pregnancy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we miscarried.
But I definitely manned up. I wasn't.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have a baby. I left work, came over, and we talked. And
we had to talk, and we're
gonna go through with it.
We went. Yeah, we talked about.
But
we're gonna have the baby, right. But we miscarried 2 months in.
2 months in, and after that point, well, your sister-in-law also within 5 months
she was moving.
She was moving out.
Met somebody, and she was moving.
Right. So then we moved to my mom's
for a little bit.
Because you weren't ready to go back to your mom's.
No, yeah, wasn't ready to move back
it happened
home.
Again.
Yes. So how they say, you miscarry or you have a baby, you're highly fertile.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I got pregnant again.
And so I'm like,
2
okay.
months after.
Yeah. Now, I have to say, listen, I had my plan of what I was doing. I was already working. Like I said, college came a little later on, but I was already working. And my thought process is I'm going to work. I live in Manhattan. I'm going to move downtown. And I'm going to be, like bar hopping. Like, I'm going to be living downtown eventually.
Nope.
Yeah, that was changing.
Nope.
But I took the responsibility.
Yes. He was very responsible. Nervous.
Sure, I think anybody. I was 20, and let's see, our daughter was born when I was 21.
Yes.
So I was nervous. Absolutely. I'm a young adult. I have a job and stuff like that, but I was like, I'm having a kid now, all this other stuff. So eventually you spoke to your mom. We went back to you stayed at your mom's place.
I stayed at my mom's.
I stayed at my place.
I told her the news that we were expecting, and she helped us get an apartment.
But you guys had a really good relationship with the management company.
Yes. Where my mom lived, she had a good relationship with the management company that owned the building. So she was able to get me an apartment where she lived.
Yes.
And I already had other relatives that lived in the same apartment, so they knew we were, responsible people. So we ended up getting our first apartment
it was
when
a studio.
We were 18.
No, not 18. You had to be. Oh yeah, you were 18. Yeah, I'm 20. 18. Yeah. I'm 2 years older than her. Yeah. So yeah, there you go.
We had our first apartment as 18 and 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
With a baby on the way.
Yeah, baby on the way. I'm gonna be honest. I was nervous.
Very interesting.
Yeah, There was no doubt about it. I was like way over my head, but this is the path, and I'm gonna, go for it and stuff. And then we got they bumped us up into a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yes. From
the studio, which
was good. We
went
from a studio to a 1-bedroom apartment because they knew we had a baby on the way, so they accommodated us.
And which
was great.
It was good. I mean, we made the best of it.
So
I would travel all the way downtown and come all the way to the Bronx. I told my mom I'm moving out and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like oh my God, this is she was like, okay, this is how it is. This happened and stuff like that. It wasn't. Yeah, my mom wasn't she wasn't upset about it. Like,
no, we stayed there for how many years? Maybe about 5 years. We did break up for a little bit.
That's right, we did.
Maybe about 3-6 months.
5. 4 or 5 months. I did try to chase her, and it was your choice. You wanted to. You were nervous, I guess, or you weren't sure what you were doing.
I wasn't sure. I mean, we had our daughter.
Yeah.
But I don't think I was ready to be with one person for the rest of my life yet. Yeah. I think I was just still very immature, even though we had a daughter. I wanted to date. I got scared. I was like, I don't want to be with the same person forever. I'm too young. So I guess I kind of got stage fright at that point, and I dated someone else.
For me, I was like, listen, you're having a kid together. You got to make this work. You don't give up on it within 2 years. But so we said, okay, we went out separate ways. I did try to pursue her and say, hey, let's try to get back together, but it didn't work out. So you dated. I did. Crazy dude.
Yeah,
but
dude. I went on a couple dates.
I called a couple of people, maybe went out once, but I just kind of, I was just trying to piece together what's my next step. I'm definitely going to be in my daughter's life, and I guess I'm going to get my own place. So I figured, hey, you know what? I just lived kind of in my own, so I figured within a year I'm going to have to get an apartment. There was no doubt about it. I wasn't going to just stay at my mom's place.
But I came to my senses, and I had to chase him for a little bit. To kind of
get me back into
him back
into like, all right, we'll give this a try, because I was
interested.
I was like, I already tried. I'm like, you kind of didn't want to go out with me, so
I had to chase him.
You got to do a little work, I guess. Yeah.
But we did get back together, and we moved to our second place after living in our first apartment for a few years.
That is correct. So we went.
You went 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. So we went kind of back up again, a couple of stops again upward. Up in it's called Fox Street. Mm-hmm. And so I went from work and to the Bronx.
Yep.
And which was good because now our daughter had her own bedroom.
Yes, our daughter had her own bedroom. We lived in a private house.
It was a three
family private house.
But they were like brownstones.
Yes.
They were connected, but there were 3 families. So we had the second floor.
So it kind of prepared us for living in a house, sort of.
Somewhat, yeah.
Because living in an apartment is different than living in a private house.
Yeah, so one thing I definitely knew is I knew I wanted to get a house. Mm-hmm. By the time I hit 30.
Yes, which we did.
We did. We did get the house.
Yes.
But
we lived in the city for... we stayed in that apartment for another 5 years,
right? Yeah, almost 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had our second child at that house. We actually got married when we lived in that house. We waited 10 years after we had our daughter to get married.
Yes.
Not that he didn't propose a few times.
Yeah.
He did propose. I would admit, I'm the person that still was not sure, even though I went back and got back together with him. He did propose. I was still not sure.
Yeah.
So every time he would ask, I was like, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah. Yeah. 10 years.
10 years. Well, I said yes finally 9 years in.
Yeah.
And that was more our daughter kind of put us on the spot. And remember, she said, why is mine and daddy's name different than yours?
Yes.
You remember?
Yeah, absolutely. And I said, listen, what do you want to do? Are we going to get married or not? I mean,
But he did ask me a few times before. I finally said yes when he asked me in New Year's Eve
again
of 98.
Yes.
Because we got married of 99.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah.
1999 is when we got engaged on New Year's Eve.
98 or 90? Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yes.
And then we got married.
98, we got married. We got engaged in 98.
And then 99 we got married.
We got married in that
and
fall.
And then 2000 we bought the house.
2000 we bought our house.
And we also had our second child.
We had our second child.
Which was our son. Yeah.
Our son.
Yeah.
Which was a roller coaster also.
That was a lot going on. That was definitely a lot going on. That was a roller coaster
because our daughter...
and not only that,
our daughter was unplanned.
Our
son, we tried to have, we were trying to have a child.
That was a lot of work.
We were trying to have a second child. Also, at the same time, we were trying to plan a wedding.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, so the two kids are about 10 years apart. But somewhere when our daughter was around 5 or 6, we started to work on another one, even though we weren't married, but we talked about it. We weren't married
yet, but we talked about it.
But then we really, after we got engaged, we really started to work on it more. Actually, I'd be honest, I went to a specialist just to make sure everything was fine with myself.
Because we didn't have another kid.
But yeah, nothing was happening. And, everything checked out. And, I'll probably tell the awkward story of one of the tests I had. I went twice, and maybe another episode, but I think right after we got married, and then we went on a honeymoon. We went to Disney World.
Yes.
And then we came back, and you were like, "Hey, I'm."
Well, he was still going through treatments, trying to find out.
It was just,
he was trying to find out if the equipment was working.
So the second visit, I went to do it.
It was a waste of time.
It was a waste of time because you guys handed me a box.
Yes.
And I was like, "What's in the box?" And I pulled it out, and it was a booty. And I was like, a baby booty. So I'm like, "We're having another one?"
Yes, we were right.
Like, yes. So.
So yeah, we ended up having our second child.
Yeah, and then leads up to...
It was a lot that year because...
Yeah, because not only that, it led up to... We got to talk about the wedding. And I'm a Catholic school boy. I went to Catholic school from 1st to 8th grade. I was an altar boy. I did the masses and so on. So I had to go back to the priest that I grew up with, and I was an altar boy, to marry us.
Yes.
And I knew it was going to be an awkward situation. And we've seen him many of times because God blessed my three. Well, at that time I was two kids, I think.
Yes, his best friend.
My best friend's guy. I was the godfather for the kids. So every time I would see Marcina Carney, I would just say, "Hi, Marcina Carney. This is my girl, Cindy, and blah 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 and stuff like that." I never introduced her as my wife. So when I went to ask him to marry us, he was off because he thought. I thought you were married. And I really said, no. And I never introduced her as my wife. But, we had that conversation. I just didn't want to base a marriage.
Because we had a child.
We had a child. Young. Yeah, young age. You had to make sure it worked. And of course it didn't because we separated. Yeah. So it took him some convincing, but he did the ceremony. And the ceremony was extra long because he had to go through this process of when people meet, they get together, they form a family, you get married, then you create a family, and everything the way it should have been. And so people were like...
They didn't understand why we ended up getting a full mass.
Yeah, what was the
when
full
we just asked
mass
for
and the
church,
speech?
Just church ceremony, but we got a full mass.
And then we're up there, and the funny part is my cousin's behind me going, Jerry. And, you know, they're into also doing the instruments and when they're doing Spanish music. So he's like...
They play bongos and congas and
instruments.
all those
things. And I'm up here, the guy's giving a speech. It's like, how come we didn't do it the proper way? And you're asking me? I'm like, trying to like, stop talking to me. But it was a great ceremony. And it was a budget wedding because we had so much going on.
We had a lot going on that year. We got married, we had a beautiful wedding.
Yes.
A lot of family chipped in, made it happen.
Yes.
And then, of course, we got married in November. The following, our son was born in August.
Yeah.
And then we bought our house in February.
Yeah, so it was a lot. Actually, the bank had called me, I think, at least twice.
To make sure.
Yeah, because money was coming out of the account. And I guess we made a charge on something. I don't know what it was. It was a big charge.
Baby furniture.
Yeah, and it was a confirmation. Hi, we just want to clarify that you went to a baby store. I'm like, yeah. We noticed that, you know, your account has lessened. And I was like, yeah, I got a lot going on. We got married. Baby, and it's going to be even worse because we're going to be buying a house.
So it was a crazy 2 years.
It was a crazy, because we already knew we wanted to buy a house even before we got married because we were saving.
Yes.
So we were claiming 0 on our taxes.
For
yeah, so
just
that
to
was
make sure.
That was the benefit. So we used to go to this place to do our taxes up in the Bronx, and the gentleman said, hey, somehow we got into a conversation of buying a house. He said, we'll claim 0.
Claim 0 for the next 4 or 5 years.
5 years. So this way, every time you get your tax return, it's going to be larger. They're going to take more money out weekly, but you get adjusted. And it worked.
It worked. Yes, it did.
Every time we got our return, it was somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000.
Actually, no. They were higher than that.
I don't know if
it was 10,000.
10,000.
Because we were able in 3 years to have the money for the house and the wedding.
Yeah, so in the 3 to 4 years, we had the money. We had, 30, 40 grand. Now, again, this is 2000, so the houses were cheaper, not a bigger deposit. Interest rates were about the same as right now. Yes. When we bought this house, it was 7.25%.
Yes.
So interest rates actually were the same. Mm-hmm. We refinanced, but we had the money. We bought the house. At that time, I had a car, which was good. We had the old Saturn.
Very small Saturn.
We had a Saturn.
I don't know if you remember back then, the first Saturns, they were very small, low to the ground.
Low to the ground, yeah.
So another funny story. I mean, I know we're talking about, who we are. We bought our home in Jersey, and our children were little. Our daughter was 10 already.
Yes.
And our son was only 6 months old.
Yes.
And we bought our house in February.
Well, we closed on February.
We closed in February. We moved in February.
Yeah.
We moved in a couple days after my birthday.
Yeah.
And it was a snowstorm.
Yeah. So we didn't. First of all, we didn't understand. We were stuck on the highway. Well, the traffic wasn't moving, and I just couldn't understand what was going on. So we're sitting in this car, and the kids are in the back and crying, and I'm like, we were just there for like 2 hours, and I'm like, as a driver in the city, I'm like, what are we waiting for? Was it an accident? We're still sitting, and it's snowing.
It was snowing.
So finally, they started to move, and as they kind of cleared out, there's snow on the highway.
But now,
it wasn't plowed.
It was 2 feet of snow.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? There's just nobody cleared the snow off the highway? I'm like, what the heck? And again, we're from the city. So I literally went like this on the side, and I'm like, you got this. You can do this.
Get us home.
Get us home. And
it did.
It did.
It got us a few feet away from the house.
So there was trucks and SUVs on the left lane just going through it. And cars like mine were just on the right side just going through snow and stuff. And it was just like...
scary.
Yeah, and then where we live, there's like our exit is kind of like a high mountain drive. Or you could go to the next exit and drive kind of relatively on the same level where the house is at.
Yes.
But you don't have to...
go up a hill.
Yeah, but it was closed because of the snow.
We didn't know about that either.
Yeah, which we didn't know. So we drove the other way. And we got to the house.
Well, almost made it to the house.
Well, we did.
We made it to our street. Yeah. We made it on our street. and our car got stuck in the snow.
Well, no. First, we stopped the car, and then luckily they left us a shovel.
Yes.
So I shoveled really quick and cleared an area. And that's when I got back in the car, and she didn't know how to drive at this point.
I didn't have a license.
I couldn't move the car. So I was like, what the heck is going on? You know? And then I realized it just kind of got wedged with snow, and it's low to the ground.
A lot of snow.
So I had to get under there and move all this snow out so the car could move to the spot where we parked the car.
Yes.
It
was an interesting...
Yeah, so...
First few weeks in the house.
We didn't
even sleep in our bedroom.
We slept in the living room. Yeah. You know,
it was cold.
It was cold. We didn't
know.
We were first time buyers. Prepared. Not even that. I think really in our family, not a lot of people had homes.
No, his family they had houses. My family really, everyone lived in apartments. Everyone lived.
But nobody prepped us. We were young still. I mean, yeah, I was 30, but you know,
for living in owning your own house.
We didn't grow up in houses.
We didn't know.
I didn't know anything, so. It was like, wow, it's really cold upstairs in the top floor. We're going to sleep in the living room with the baby, and our daughter will be in her room.
The first 2 weeks we slept in the living room until we figured out, we sealed the windows because it was an old house.
I don't even think that we did that in the first year.
We did. We sealed the window upstairs in the bedroom. We didn't put the baby in the baby's room yet. We put him in our room with us until we got heaters.
Yeah, we did heaters.
Little heaters, and we put them in each bedroom. So
because what we learned is these are old houses. These are they're not
1940s,
1950s, so they're a little drafty. And we have a raised cape, so this is some people call this the basement or level 1. Then you got level 2, and level 3 is kind of like the attic, but there's only one zone, so it's getting its temperature from the second level, and then based on that. How it's going to blow air. So we have forced air. And even still, it never got warm upstairs. So we had to use heaters. We had little electric heaters.
Few years.
Even where we're at right now in this little area, this was an area that nobody used during the wintertime because it just wouldn't stay warm enough.
It was freezing down here.
Yeah. So, there was challenges, life experiences, but this is what
you will hear a lot about them.
This is what
we don't want to swamp you now.
No, but I think... for the ones that are let's say, around our age, and could say, yeah, I went through those pains, and we're still together, and we're still managing it. That's fantastic. Definitely leave your comments. And for the ones that are starting out, definitely, I know this is probably it seems like a harder time, but I think every generation, we didn't have families that had houses.
No.
But you hear the stories. When we got our house, there was the stories of saying people would say, "Well, it was easier back then." So I think that's always a carrying phrase.
We can say that now too.
Yeah, but I think that's
easier when we bought our house.
But I think that's a carrying phrase. Like if we had parents that had homes, if we did,
yes,
they would probably say
it was easier back then. We did it. Yes.
So that generation that bought homes in the 60s and 70s,
yes,
or after the World War II, it was. I think that's a carrying phrase. It's always easier, but. Again, we made our sacrifices. It's not to say we didn't.
We had kids young.
Claiming zero for good. So they took more money out of our paycheck.
Yes.
So we didn't go out.
We didn't go out a lot. We played video games a lot. We became gamers.
Yeah.
Because you didn't spend money. You stayed home and you entertained yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's why our kids are gamers, because they saw us stay home and play video games. We don't stay home as much as we did back then. I think we should go back to doing that, maybe. Maybe,
yeah. It saves. I mean, inflation's high. Listen, I bought batteries the other day, and I was like, they were the Amazon batteries. And I put the last 4 in my ring light. It was the D batteries, and I go upstairs, and I'm going to order. I'm like, $20 for 8 batteries? How much did I bought last time? And I click on view order from the last one. I'm like, $12 a year ago. And I'm like... So
that's what we're going to talk about in this show. Things like that.
It's still challenges. Yeah, listen.
Yeah, challenges.
I think
differences.
You have to, you got to sacrifice. There's no doubt about it. I know a lot of people say it's even harder now with the inflation, but I think it's always a challenge for every generation and how you handle those challenges.
Yeah. So to go back to the main, this is a little bit of our story.
Yeah.
So we're originally from New York. He's from Manhattan. I'm originally from the Bronx.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have 3 children.
Yeah, we have 3 kids now.
We've been together over 30 years.
Over 30 years.
He's IT. I'm a housewife.
Yeah.
That loves to play with power tools.
Yes. We'll definitely talk more into those areas.
And we're going to talk about our life stories, our challenges.
And give out inputs of how it is right now. I mean, we have a daughter that's in her 30s. I think they want to buy a house. The challenges.
And the challenges are harder than when we bought our house.
I think yes and no. I think challenges are always there for anybody. I mean, it was a challenge for us.
Yes.
But my advice to my daughter and her boyfriend of what to do and how to save money and stuff like that.
They actually do some of the same. They game.
They game, which saves money. I think
game.
But
they do they've actually taken our advice and they date. Even though they're not married yet, they make time to go on a date weekly.
You have to.
They play video games together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though you're different, you want to do things to keep yourselves busy also, but into the same hobbies kind of.
I mean, you're going to have times where you got your space and I got my space. I do my things.
Some of the same things.
And then you do some of the same things.
We like being together. So some couples don't like being together. We actually like being together.
Yeah, we made it through the pandemic with no issues, really.
No, we had no issues.
No.
Maybe I wanted to kill him once in a while, but
yeah,
we made it through the pandemic.
We made it through the pandemic. It wasn't like some people separated and others didn't. But we don't have a big house, but it's got that enough space where everybody can do
their own thing.
Yeah, you have a living room. The kids have their own rooms. We have
a separate family room.
A little bar area with a little family area over here. So you can find a little time to yourself and watch TV over here, or sit and read a book in the backyard.
Not a mansion, but it's a comfy little home.
It serves the purpose, and I think that's. Again,
we're going to talk about.
We're going to, definitely touch those areas and other things. So
tell a few funny stories.
And funny stories. And hopefully...
We've got a lot of them, 30 years of
hopefully, for the people who are watching, it's entertaining. Hopefully, for the people who are watching, it's a confidence boost that, hey, they did it, we can do it.
Yes.
And they had their challenges, and still, now...
We had our challenges. People actually... I've been told, people have told me, we didn't think you were going to make it together, because we...
Well, we were opposite also.
We're opposite, and we had our daughter very young. Yeah. And the
odds were against it.
How do you say the word?
Statistics.
Statistics say that, teen pregnancies, young pregnancies, sometimes they don't make it because you don't know each other.
Right.
But we made it a point to know each other, or get to know each other. Yeah. And we've learned a lot of things from each other and each other's families. And... we'll share some of the stories and some of the differences.
And you're going to see even some projects that we do. Some of the projects
we or she?
Well, okay, so she. I know we're getting into it. We're getting into 30 minutes. I am more of the, I'm an IT person. She is also not only the crafty person and decorating the house and all that stuff and glue guns and stuff. She is also the tool time girl.
Yes.
She is the one with the power tools. Let me get in there, and I'll add this real quick story. When we went to Home Depot, we had to buy tools. She's asking questions, and the guy is looking at me answering it. And we were talking. Well, she was talking about drills, and the guy looks at me and goes, "Do you want a key or a keyless?" And I looked at the guy. Finally, said, "Hey, listen, guy, I have no idea about that." And she's asking. But you keep on looking at me to answer. I have no idea about this. I don't know about tools. So she's asking. Look at her and answer, or ask her the questions.
We're actually sitting on something that I built.
Yeah, I don't know how it looks in the video, but this was a custom bar. Yeah,
custom bar I made for him.
Yeah, you some of the stuff. Like everybody, you're gonna see stuff on YouTube, and I think some of it you pulled off of YouTube, and some of it
I adjusted it.
You adjusted it to what you wanted.
Yeah. We'll show a video or photo of
I think
the bar.
That's how you save money. Also, I mean, you just gotta certain projects you just gotta do yourself.
Yes.
I think 20 years ago it wasn't. Home Depot was around, but
they used to do more classes. They don't do that anymore.
They don't do as classes, but I think when we bought the house,
they sold the books.
That's what it was. They sold the books. They had some classes. And then I think we bought a house just at the right time when shows were coming on.
Oh, TLC.
Yeah,
the Learning Channel.
All these shows of
home improvement channels.
Room swapping and
Yes.
So we bought the house right.
And I learned to do a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah. So it kind of like worked out buying the
Yes.
house at that right time.
Yes. I was very handy with a hammer
Yeah.
and nails and whatever tools I can get my hands
So
on.
anyway, we're gonna end it for now.
Yes.
Definitely hit the like, subscribe, join us,
Get to know us.
get to know us.
Get to hear our crazy stories.
Put the comments in there. I'd love to hear some of your ideas and where you guys are in your relationships. We'll definitely interact in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.